All right, everyone. I hope that you've taken the time either by watching the rest of the Prezi links embedded or using the links on the bottom of your handout. Either way, you could have accessed the rest of those videos and identified which of those videos were models and anti-models, and more importantly, the components of quality feedback within those videos. I wanted you to be able to identify those components because in our next couple minutes together, it will be your turn to practice. So what you and your partner are going to do are to create some mini skits. All right, you need to make at least one model and one anti-model demonstrating the components of effective feedback. Now remember, you've just been introduced to this, so I don't expect you to be an expert. But what I really want you to be intentional about doing is making sure that you're trying to embed as many of the quality components as possible. So really though, before going any further, you and your partner should probably revisit what your goals are that we've looked at in previous sessions. Remember, the goals are the foundation for the entire conversation. Unless you wanted to do an anti-model right off the back that wouldn't contain any goal referenced information. But if you can talk about your goals first, it will set the good foundation for the skits that you're trying to put into place. So one of the other tools that I've given you to help this conversation and help you make these skits, these models and anti-models of giving and receiving quality feedback, is the handout that says phrases to support implementation. So on this handout, you'll notice that there are distinct phrases that seem to help mentors and mentees give and receive feedback. So you might want to use this resource to help guide your skits. So you'll have about 20 minutes to do this, and I really want you to at least create one model and one anti-model representing the components of quality feedback. We are going to demonstrate these skits to your peers, and so hopefully you'll take the time to do this well. If you get into it and you want to make more than just 2 skits, feel free to do so. This is really about you practicing. Can you enact the quality components, or can you purposefully not enact them in a humorous way that allows us to see what we should or shouldn't be doing? So again, you have about 20 minutes, and when you unpause this screencast, we are then going to look at doing these all together as a group and identifying those components that we so desperately are trying to practice and enact. So again, it's your turn to practice, and we'll leave this screen up so you can be reminded of what you're asked to do for the next 20 minutes. Take your time and do this well, please. Okay, whether you needed the full 20 minutes or not, here we go. I'd like for various groups to volunteer and demonstrate their models or their anti-model to the whole group. But it's important that when you volunteer, don't tell us which model you're doing, and don't tell us which components you're attempting to implement. All right, after you've done your skit, it should maybe take 3 to 5 minutes, not very long. What we'd like you to do is have the rest of the group then try to guess, was this a model or an anti-model? And which were the exact components that you were trying to demonstrate. All right, so we again have a bit of time to do this. We should at least be able to see 2 models and 2 anti-models within the next 20 minutes. And don't forget, either between each skit or at the end in totality, which is fine, I'd like you to debrief what are the components of effective feedback that we're seeing. Think about those 7 components. And also, you're welcome to use those phrases of implementation if it makes it easier for you. So you can pause for now and unpause when your 20 minutes is up. All right, so our professional development session on feedback is almost coming to a close. I'm going to have you flip to the last page of your handout, which says wrap up at the top. And although we've covered a lot of content today, it's really about those objectives and meeting those objectives. So I'd like us just to take a little bit of time, revisit our objectives. Do we understand what quality feedback is? Have we had time to practice giving and receiving feedback? And really what we're doing right now is this last one. Can we identify within our own practice which parts of feedback we want to improve upon? So take a few minutes to reflect on our objectives, now knowing what you know about feedback. And then I'd like you to write your responses on your handout into these 2 questions. What made sense to you today, and or realizations have you come to? And what successes and or concerns potentially emerged from our session today? Once you've completed that, I then would like you to think through, so what specific component do you want to try to improve on before our next professional development? We'll give you about 5 minutes or so to do this. If you finish early, you're welcome to start thinking about your homework. Thank you for taking time to really reflect about our session today. As we look forward to our next session, I'd like you to complete this homework. This really is about your practices. This is how you get better doing what you're doing. So if you really want to deepen your skills as a mentor and mentee, you really need the practice. So here's your homework, and along with that you can see there are some ways that we could create some evidence that you've been doing this. So any of these can be posted to the homework section of our website so that I can give you feedback on how you're progressing. So again, I want you to clearly articulate one part or component of giving or receiving feedback that you want to work on, and then create an fact proving that you've practiced this feedback interaction and reflected about your intended component of improvement. If you have any questions or concerns, you know you're always able to get a hold of me via email, phone, whatever works for you. We can also blog back and forth about this, and or we're welcome to set up a Google Hangout time so that all of us within this session, including myself, can dialogue back and forth under Google Hangout. So in summation, I just want to thank you for your time today. It takes a lot of effort and intentionality and purposeful learning to be able to have a positive, complex change occur. And I believe that it's through this mentoring process. It's through all the steps, all the vision, all the understandings around mentoring that we really can see that student achievement piece that we're so desperately striving for. This is not a simple task. There's no silver bullet that we could possibly enact overnight. But what we can do is we can continue to learn professionally through series like these. We can continue to collaborate. We can use resources and research that we know is effective, and we can potentially make this change happen. So I'm excited that all of you want to be a part of this shift and that you're bringing about these practices in the K-12 classroom where we desperately need it. So thank you again for your time today. I look forward to our next session together.